YMCA Trademark Sublicense Agreement, Protecting Our Brand. Our brand and logos represent our mission, values, integrity, and the benefit we provide to the communities that we serve. When we place our brand in the hands of others without proper supervision and control, we risk damaging our reputation and how our members, donors, and partners perceive us. As protectors of the Y brand, you play a part in protecting the reputation that our movement has in the United States and around the world. Ensuring that your vendors obtain the proper authorization and use the YMCA trademarks in accordance with the sublicense agreement protects our brand and helps increase its value in the marketplace. The YMCA Trademark Sublicense Agreement governs the relationship between your Y and a non-Y entity by establishing rules for how, where, and how long your vendor may use the YMCA trademarks. Section 1 outlines YUSA's ownership of the YMCA marks and your ability to give vendors the right to use the trademarks to create products or materials for your Y. However, if your vendor operates beyond the permission granted in this agreement, YUSA and your YMCA have the right to terminate your vendor's ability to continue using the YMCA trademarks. Section 2A is where you detail the specific purpose for which your vendor may use the YMCA trademarks. Don't forget, you may only grant your vendor the right to use the YMCA trademarks within your service area. Except in special situations, you may not give vendors permission to use the YMCA marks on digital content that is not owned or controlled by your YMCA. This includes websites, social media platforms, mobile applications, or as a part of their domain names. Because digital content reaches outside of your service area, you may not grant this right to your vendor. Use of the marks must conform to Y graphic standards. You also should not send logos, brand material, or other resources contained on the Brand Resource Center directly to your vendor without an executed sublicense agreement. Once your vendor executes a sublicense agreement, your vendor may request access to the Brand Resource Center by emailing brc@ymca.net. Section 2D is where you select which marks you are giving your vendor permission to use. You should only select the marks that your vendor needs to use for your specific purpose. As mentioned earlier, vendors will not have the right to use the marks on digital content. However, if the mark needs to be featured on a non-YMCA website or non-YMCA social media, you may grant your vendor use of the marks for up to 90 days. If they require more time to use the marks, you must contact YUSA's Office of the General Counsel, who will consider your request for a longer period. At the end of the term, or if at any time notified by your YMCA or by YUSA, the vendor must immediately stop using the YMCA trademarks. Section 3 addresses the period of time that your vendor may use the YMCA trademarks. If you have a certain date that is less than 1 year away, when your vendor's project or task will have been completed, you may check off the first box and enter the end date here. This shall be the date when the vendor's permission to use the marks as well as its access to the Brand Resource Center will end. If you are unsure when the end date for your vendor's project will be, or if you require your vendor to have access to the marks in Brand Resource Center for a year, you may check the second box. Don't forget, 1 year is the maximum length of the sublicense agreement. Sections 4 through 7 are legal provisions that apply to the agreement. Section 5 limits the liability of your Y or of YUSA in the event that your vendor's use of the marks injures a third party. Section 6 states that your vendor is responsible for any harm to your Y and YUSA as a result of the vendor's use of the marks. Section 7 establishes that this agreement voids the terms of any previous agreement regarding use of the marks between your Y and the vendor with whom you are entering into this agreement. By ensuring that your vendors obtain the proper authorization and use the marks in accordance with the sublicense agreement, you not only protect our brand, but also help increase its value in the marketplace. In conclusion, you should select only the marks that your vendor needs to use for your specific purpose. You may only grant your vendor the right to use the YMCA trademarks within your service area. Except in special situations, vendors may not be given permission to use the marks on digital content that is not owned or controlled by your YMCA. Use of the marks must conform with our graphic standards, which can be found on the Brand Resource Center. 1 year is the maximum length of the agreement. A new sublicense agreement is required to extend the term beyond 1 year. At the end of the term, or if at any time notified by your YMCA or YUSA, the vendor must immediately stop using the YMCA trademarks. Thank you for taking an interest in this important document. Please feel free to reach out to the Office of the General Counsel if you have any questions.